actually happens. So there is when the moon starts covering it. So what happens is moon has these mountains on it, where there is a mountain, there is a valley, there is a mountain, there is a valley. So when that part overlays on the sun, the part where there is a valley, the light passes through it, but then it's dark when there is a mountain. So you see like a bead, bead formation. So it's a beautiful phenomena which happens once in lifetime. So I came to know about this eclipse by attending a workshop which happened in Delhi University. Although I was not even a student of Delhi University, so I bought this jersey which says Saint Stephen so that I can easily come and go, and the security guard won't stop me. So, anyways, from that I decided I from there I started getting some interest in something called as radio astronomy. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of radio astronomy, but India is one of the leading players in radio astronomy today. And the idea is basically to observe and to monitor the space using radio waves. And why it becomes interesting is because, unlike optical, which has a limited range, you can have pretty much radio telescopes and receive signals from from larger distances, and you can have better resolution of the data which you are getting. So with that in mind, I finally made my way to Kerala. You see, it was like a 3-day pre, during, and post eclipse event, where if you see, these are antennas. You see this pole, this gray pole, and then there is a wire going in. This is an antenna. I developed a receiver, and this was when I was in second year of my undergraduate studies. And what I was trying to do, I was trying to monitor the change in the radio flux when sun will be getting covered. And we did experiment. A lot of people gathered there to see what's happening, and this actually was very interesting experiment, because I was really, really not in a situation where my parents can pay for my flight to Trivandrum, because it was so expensive. So I had to basically travel by train. I didn't get the reservation in the third tier, or what you call that, third class. Hello. Yeah. So, anyways, I had a hard time, and finally I made it my way after traveling 2 days and reached Kerala, and had to travel all roads. It was a fun, very adventurous trip, but it changed my life. It changed my life because I met some amazing professors, amazing scientists there, who motivated me and inspired me to study microwave circuits, radio, RF electronics, and whatever I have done, I'm indebted to 2010 experiment which I did on a small, cliff here next to the ocean. And I think lot of us have similar kind of life journeys. We come from very different backgrounds, but it's very important to understand that if you are determined enough, nothing can stop you. And I have started believing in that, because I also come from a very humble background. I also faced a lot of difficulties, but if you are persistent in your efforts, things definitely work out. So another very interesting story happened during that time, and why I'm telling you all this is because in the end, I will call your names and I will ask that what do you think about, because eventually out of this course, I want to also motivate you guys to pursue a career which can lead you to be in top position in top schools. So I was here, this is experiment, and there were families which were traveling. I have no idea. I never met these on the left. If you see, I've never met these kids before. And here I was. Varkala is here. Delhi is here. Oh my God, this is very annoying. Again, people who are joining late, I am telling this again. From next time at 8:05, I will start the class, and I won't admit anyone who joins the class after 8:05. So what happened was that their family was traveling. So these kids came and sit next to me, and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" So I started explaining them what my experiment is. So you see this silver box, that was my radio which I made. So the idea was very simple. It works at 20 megahertz, and sun emits radio waves at 20 megahertz. And basically, what I'm doing is dipole is a very simple antenna to design. With that design, I can actually catch the radio signals and I can feed through my receiver. Receiver is connected to my laptop, and on laptop I monitor data. So you will see how the intensity of radio wave or radio flux is changing with respect to time. It's same as your FM, right? Your FM works on say 93.5 megahertz. If you connect them to a computer and have a software, you will see the different waves going up and down. So, anyways, what happened was then these students were from Delhi, a school called Alcon Public School. If you some of you guys, if you are living in East Delhi, you might know it's a school in Mayur Vihar. So they said that we would like to. They talked to their school principal, and he was kind enough to give me like every Friday. I used to visit their school, and we started working in a lab, and I started helping them develop this same receiver using high schools in whatever resources they had. And we worked for almost 2 years, and when they were in high school they published a paper based on experiments they did. And the beauty of this was that you see the guy in the green, you see guy in the red, they didn't make way through to IIT in their entrance, but with the kind of research exposure they got, their application they wrote, Praful studied his undergrad at Stanford with 75% tuition fees waiver. Ayush is currently studying, you can Google them, Praful Sharma, he's doing PhD in MIT now. Ayush is a PhD student at CMU, Carnegie Mellon University. It's also one of the top schools. Arjun works in Bangalore in a startup, and he's doing really great. Hardik is also near to me in California. He decided to switch his career, and now he's a graphics. He works in the area of computer graphics. But the beauty was that I got people who became friends for life, and also I was able to contribute, in some way in helping them share what I know, and basically help them in their career path. So again, one of my objectives of this course is very much, to see how many people are motivated and see how can I work with you guys to help you to navigate your path through if you decide to pursue this as a career. Anyways, 2010 was good. 2011, I was always looking for internship. I never sat at home. Second year, third year of undergrad, fourth year, every year I did internship. So 2011, when I was doing experiment, I got to know some professors who basically recommended me to Aryabhatta Research Institute of Earth and Observational Sciences, I guess. The full form, if somebody's from Nainital, they might have seen it. It's an observatory there. And I actually went there for doing my summer internship, and I was like so homesick. I was not able to survive basically. So I decided that I will discontinue my internship because it was in astronomy and I didn't like living in middle of nowhere. So at that time I had this realization, it's good to know what you cannot do rather than what you can, because had I stayed there and something which I was not liking, I might have ended up becoming an astronomer. But from there, I decided to switch into radio, circuits, microwave devices, and how to use that in developing more hardware systems. So then I got internship in electronic science department at University of Pune, where I started playing with antennas, started making some helix antennas. These are kind of antennas which go on mostly on space missions. This is not exactly for space missions. Those are very high frequency antennas. This is something like at 20 megahertz. Similar, this was sorry at one point. This was 1420 megahertz, because 1420 megahertz is a frequency for hydrogen line spectrum. But this is all circuits. This is all microwaves, because how connector has to be connected, what is the impedance, what should be the thickness of it, what should be the radius of it. These all things are a part of the course which we will be studying. So far, are you guys walking along with me, or it's just I'm talking to myself? Can somebody unmute and talk about anything coming to your mind, or everyone is shy? Maybe let me call out a name. How about Kunal? Kunal, are you following the class?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Any comments so far? Do you think I should just shut up and tell you what course things we will study, or shall I keep going?
Yes, sir. I am also understanding. I found it too fascinating about this topic.
Okay, good. Um, so, anyways, coming back, so here I started understanding, like the books, which seem so complicated. Actually, when you start applying it, life becomes very interesting, and it was so much fun. And these things doesn't even require hi-fi lab. You can do it at home. And whatever I did here, I published a paper on how it operates. I did measurements. I took help from IIT Delhi, and IIT Delhi has one of the world's best microwave labs. It's called Center for Applied Research in Electronics. And you guys also have Ayushi. I think she graduated from CARE. She's teaching in JNU, I guess, because I met her once in Phoenix a long time ago when she came to present a paper in US. So then what happened was, it's why these small internships are important. With this next year, I got selected for, I don't know if you guys know, there is something called as Visiting Summer Research Program, which is operated by Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and National Council of Radio Astronomy is basically the place which hosts this. And I got there. It was such an amazing experience because you have the word top students there, along with faculty members whose name we have heard, like Jayant Narlikar, Professor Jaydeep Bagchi, and we got to visit the India's largest, biggest observatory. Somebody from Maharashtra, uh, from Pune, around 60 kilometers, there is a place called Khodat. And in Khodat, there is the word biggest observatory. Again, what is this? This is a big, big, big microwave antenna. This is like a dish. And there are 30 such dishes which are connected to a control center where all hardware is kept, where receiver is there, where receiver is made up of so many components, where you monitor, what's happening in deep space. So this is one of the very fascinating observatories, and I will highly recommend, you guys, if are planning to go for a trip somewhere to Goa, or to Maharashtra, plan a trip there. You will be amazed to see this. And this is in our country, so we should be very proud of it. And at the same time, we should go and try to understand what infrastructural expansion has happened in the field of science in India. Anyways, so when I was doing all this, I got to then fourth year of my undergrad, I basically did 6 months internships in IIT Bombay, where I worked on some advanced tools, had knowledge of CAD tools, and all of that helped me to get from Delhi to basically to Canada, where I started doing my masters. I went for masters, but then I converted to PhD, so I don't have a master's degree. After my BTech, I directly did my PhD. But it was very interesting transition because Delhi is hot, and I was thrown into minus 30, no people around, so I had a really hard time, like making friends. Graduate course pressure is too much. Courses are very demanding abroad. It's not like oh, you go to the class and you're chit chatting on WhatsApp during the class, and then you can get through. No, you have to be very attentive, and you have to pay a lot of attention and understand the concepts. So, anyways, then I got deep into my research, which was very interesting. Initially, I had no idea. Like right now, when you will be seeing this slide, you will be like, "What the heck?" Like we don't see, we don't understand what is this. So similarly, I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know if I will be able to do all this." But then again, doing baby steps, my area of research pretty much focuses on development of technology, which means semiconductor devices, which basically you use to make a circuit, right? And that circuit you use and deploy it on a base station, or you deploy it on phone, you place it in receivers, you place it in space, you place it in radars, you can place it anywhere. So I started working on, so one element is develop the technology, which technology will it be? Will it be silicon? You might guys will be studying about CMOS and VLSI, whether it will be CMOS. So once you have the technology, you need to evaluate that how much performance it can give, right? So for example, if you have a mobile phone, your battery drains out. If your battery drains out, it means the efficiency of your battery is low, right? If your battery lasts longer, it means it has a high efficiency. So how can we make those devices more efficient, right? For that, you have to understand the device, you need to evaluate it, and then use those things to make a circuit out of it, which can be used by people or companies. Now, with all these base station towers you see around your house, the circuits which goes on those base stations are something like this, which gets connected to the tower, and from tower you get signal to your phone. So it involves design of that, and then it involves rigorous testing and measurements and signal processing, so that the signal quality should be high, your efficiency should be high. So I started understanding is how to publish papers. And with level at my age, as of now, I'm not very old, like in the sense I graduated in 2018 with my PhD, and I did my undergrad in 2013. So you can estimate, right? I'm still young and energetic. So I focus on this all areas of research. So I will come back to all this research stuff later. So anyways, but then what happened again? My life changed. Why I'm saying this is because sometimes you can find opportunity next door. You don't have to even go to somewhere very far. How it changed was that in Canada, there is a very interesting thing which historically, if you read history of Canada, you will understand that there were some Native Americans or communities which originally belonged to Canada. And when Columbus actually was exploring for India, he ended up in Canada, and he thought that Canada is actually India. And he started calling people there as Native Indians or Native Americans, we call them now, but they are called Indigenous People of Canada, or Red Indians sometimes. So they have these small villages all over Canada which are very remote and which are not connected. So I got hold of this guy. If you have time, after the class, read about just on YouTube, type Bruce Buffalo, Al Jazeera. So you will have a documentary about what he's trying to do. He's not an engineer. He's just a high school graduate, but he is working on connecting his community to internet so that people can get more education. People can there can be more digital literacy. So I was behind his idea and helped him setting when I was doing my PhD with my two friends, David and Anis, and Bruce, who was a school teacher locally in Canada with me. We started helping them out to actually deploy internet service and be an internet service provider on the reserve. So that actually spinned off what I was calling Mavawa Povin, which means act of coming together. So we as engineers came together, figure out a problem where we can make a difference, and started working towards it. And also remember one thing, you don't have to be expert, you don't have to be an expert engineer in everything. You can always try to find people. It's about right vision and what you want, what you enjoy doing. So now, we basically started deploying these infrastructures, and you see here, so we have connected pretty much entire community now. So we have this radio. So how it works is that there is a fiber backhaul. Like as of now, most of you guys get internet in your house through fiber, and there is no fiber laid down in this entire area. So what happens is there is a remote far. There is one backhaul in a school, which is somewhere. Actually, it's not in the picture. It's somewhere here. And then we deployed these radio sets with antennas. So this is microwave. This is microwave. Everything is microwave, right? And at 2.6 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, we started connecting them with each other. So what it did, it created a mesh of network, and all the communities get free internet. It shows some time ago it has almost 2 terabyte of traffic. how 130 people are connected, and all this was done by students. And most of them were like, I was involved, and I had a lot of undergrad students and grad students who helped me in doing this. And this became a very special part of my life because you feel very accomplished. Apart from how much money I can make in Silicon Valley, but I cannot get the same feeling as I get by doing this kind of stuff. So I'm still on the board, and I'm helping them in wherever I can in my capacity. And this project actually then was selected by Canadian government, and we got big funding to expand it to other places and other reserves. So with this, I started understanding the importance of technology, importance of being an engineer, because I thought engineering is very overrated, and there are so many engineers, who cares, but this finally started making me understand, that engineering is an important element, and we have to figure out with what right problem we can work on. It's not about right solution, it's about right problem. So this is just showing that my university was here. We used to go 2.5 hours drive where this area was there, and we started working on that. And I'm sure some of you might have such stories, which can inspire each other. So we have to be sure we should share it so that we can inspire each other and build a stronger community. So let me take a pause. Let me see. So Samatha Kancharla, is that
Yes, sir.
right? So are you following what's happening?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Following.
Any comments?
It's really good. So you're having a good experience. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, Samatha.
Yes,
So again, going back. So with this, so we are. I started working on this. What kept driving me to pursue microwave devices, circuits, radio frequency, millimeter wave frequency research, and these are some pictures how we used to go to these houses. This is like -30, everything is frozen, and we didn't have house to sleep, right? Like we didn't know people out there, so we used to do camping and sleep in these tents. This is my friend from Tunisia. He's my friend from Canada, and we used to like just camp there and work, and then sleep. It was a good time. As friends, we enjoyed. We drove very far. We used to like camp together. So it was an amazing journey because at the same time it was fun, and we were also making difference in life of people. So these communities, they had no access to internet just because there is no paying capacity. People who live there, it's so they cannot afford like paying like $60, $70 for wireless connectivity. So that's why we took this charge and we took this initiative. You can read more about it, if you are interested. I can definitely share more articles about it. And it was an amazing experience. So this is my timeline, like I explained you, and why I'm focusing that I was in a tier 2 college or tier 3 college, because in the end, it doesn't matter where you did your undergrad. What matters is how much effort and hard work you have put to build you as a person and to build you as a professional. And, I told you that I was in BTech, I did from IP University. Then I had these good projects which I did, and then eventually did and kept doing my research. Then moved to Calgary, did my PhD. Then I did a lot of publication during my Calgary. I was working 6 months internships for R&D. I got a lot of publication, lot of leadership awards, and then went to Princeton, did research. I published heavily, and I also founded something called as Young Professionals in Space. I'm very passionate about technology and bringing young people together, whether it is in terms of hosting parties or just bringing like-minded people together to help them work, And then I actually got appointed at age of 28 to IIT Bombay as a full professor. Sorry, not a full professor. I mean, as an assistant professor. And I was supposed to join them, but I decided to stay back because I wanted to take some more exposure in industry. So I haven't joined IIT Bombay, but yes, I do have a visiting position, and I'm a visiting professor at IIT Bombay. So with that, so this entire idea, why I'm talking about all this today is that I feel that it's very important to understand the value, because ultimately all these exchange programs, all these things, uh, your exposure, say for example, I don't know how many are you from Delhi and how many of you are from outside Delhi, but you left home, came to Delhi to study in JNU, and you must have feel a difference in experience, right? You met people from different regions, you meet people from different states, you become buddies with people from different states, so you get to learn so much that it's something which cannot be taught in school. So this kind of exchanges are very important, and you guys also should definitely think about how you want to spend your summers, how you want to spend your winters. How can you get these research positions, whether it is next door in IIT Delhi or you have to go somewhere else. But keep looking for opportunities, because a small opportunity can help you to shape up your career, because no career path is decided. If somebody say, oh, do this and this will happen, no, that's not the way things work. So so these are all different people I work with, and they always inspire me, and I really feel proud of them, because they keep me motivated and I keep them motivated. And that's what I'm trying to do today before start of this course, that I want you guys to be really motivated, so that in the end, when we are done with the course, you guys will, eventually, I can say you guys should miss me, and have kind of a relation where you can reach out to me and ask me questions. How can I help you in whatever capacity I can? So my life is very much globalized now. I'm based out in, as I said, in California, but I travel all over the world, because I am on different IEEE as a society. I'm on its panel, and because of that, I get to travel all over the world. I get to visit different countries. I started a program called Young Professionals in Space, where we have been funding students from India to come for this program. It started in Bangalore, then it moved to Spain, then to Dubai. In Dubai, we funded 20 students from India to come and attend this program. The focus again is to bring hands-on experience to students, and we bring speakers from NASA, ISRO, ESA, European Space Agency, JAXA, Japan Space Agency, and then we try to give first-hand knowledge to students. So all this started because I was very active as a student. Whatever I learned, and India ka jo jugaad ka concept hai na, once you guys, I'm not, people call it jugaad, but in Western world we just call it networking, and we call it, just better management. But that thing will take you very far if you use it properly and you are hardworking. So then eventually, because as I told you, I was very passionate about using technology for solving humanitarian problems. So we started something called as Makeathon. So it's like, why get bored? Why get bored? Let's make something. So the idea was very simple. There are some problems and challenges around us of people. The problems are so small that big companies doesn't want to work on them. And since big companies doesn't want to work on them, those problems sometimes just remain problems without any solution. So we collaborated with our health center in the university, where there were a lot of physically disabled people, and we connected team of 3 to 4 students with one person who spent 5 to 6 months understanding what type of problem he faced, and how can through technology we can help him to make his life better. And trust me, like, it was such an amazing experience that some people built these kind of chairs which help a student to read and write. And some people built for people who are very heavy. They have problem with their weights. People build it more stronger wheelchairs for them. So it uses people with mechanical engineering, robotics, which are more sturdy. Some people just use basic, I don't know if you guys are aware of what you call Arduinos. Use Arduinos and make some simple things which were connected to their phone, so that they can control all their homes and lights and have a smart home around them, so that they don't have to run around. So again, this is something easy to do with engineering. As engineers, we should look for such opportunities. So this is the program I talked about. This year we were supposed to host it in Portugal, but we haven't hosted it because of COVID. But these are all countries, and this was founded by me, and I'm the chair of this program. And we try to encourage people to take up subjects which are relevant to space and technologies around it. And microwave and RF is a big chunk of it. So yeah, this is like our India program. We did it in Bangalore. This one is from Spain, and he's my friend, a good friend of mine. He's on board with me. He works for NASA, and we made these like rockets, and we basically had a 5-day full training in university where different professor took the course. And in the end, the task of the team was they were supposed to make small CAN-sets which can be launched through a rocket. And you see, this is just out in a village. We just launched it through a rocket, and it goes to a certain height, and then after that, it just releases that CAN-set. And then we had in the laptop we just track through GPS, and that's it. Then we know exactly where it is and we recover it. So yeah, so this again, it has nothing to do with your course, but again, it all uses microwave circuits, devices, and whatnot. So let me get back to you guys just to make sure we are staying in loop. So how about Arvind? Are you still around? Arvind? Okay, I guess he is not available. Maybe how about Dhirendra? Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Okay. I'm just making sure I'm not talking to myself, right? Because there was a news that in National University Singapore, a Chinese professor kept talking for 2 hours, and ultimately he realized that he was on mute. Students kept messaging him, but he didn't see. So it's a little weird, if you don't get any response from the other side. I don't know how you are feeling about my presentation so far. So I just want you to share. The more you talk, the better will be the flow of the lectures eventually. Okay. Okay, thank you. So yeah, coming back to this again, it uses microwave and circuit. So now let me give you an example, right? Like why microwave devices and circuits are important. So for example, let's see around us. So we have a home, we have a car, then we might have some factories around us. We might have a stadium, we might have a shopping complex or a mall. So what happens is these days you might have observed one thing, right? Like we used to have these big towers, like huge towers near our houses. And this company comes and one tower is shared by multiple companies, and then they deploy these kind of antennas there. And this is something you might have seen, all of you must have seen. So what happens is that is a big cell, macro cell, which means that it radiates wireless signals in all directions. They have antennas which focuses on different sectors. And then you have, for example, in a mall, you might see on the top of the mall, there are more antennas. So those are like small cells. So for this is a macro cell which covers a big region. It might cover, for example, South Delhi, or in South Delhi, maybe RK Puram, right? Now there might be one mall or say a complex near, I don't know, what's that market? I forgot the name. SDA market, is it? Like the opposite to IH Delhi. So they might need a small cell. So they will have smaller antennas, smaller transmitters, and they will place it there. Then you might have something where you can basically have, you are operating your mobile phone here, and you can have something which is called fixed wireless, which means point to point. This will just transmit the signal from here to your mobile phone. Or you have a smart car. The smart car is communicating with the smart street light, and they have a point to point. And then all people are connected to point to point. But then macro cell can also be connected to an office, for example, a government office or a government building, and that will be a smaller cell, which is called picocell or massive MIMO, which means you are creating more smaller transmitters and putting it on a tower. So if you see that people say 5G, you know, I guess have all of you heard about 5G? Does anyone want to share what 5G is? I guess I should also say, you know, in your course evaluation, I would keep in mind people who are more active in participation, especially when I'm trying to, you know, grade you on final presentation, which I want you to give. So I will really appreciate if you can participate in discussion. So somebody wants to share what they know about 5G. It can be anything. It can be even a TV ad which you have seen. So tell me, like, what do you know about 5G? Anyone can unmute and talk about it. If you don't do it, I will just call out names.
Sir, recently a band of 5.9 gigahertz to 7.1 gigahertz has been approved by US as an unlicensed for 5G NR.
Very good. So NR there, what does NR means, you know?
New radio.
Very good. So what Manas is saying is that 5G is basically that I can say it's a new frequency. So within those new frequencies, is pointing out that there is a band at 6 gigahertz which has been opened up, where you can use communication and wireless signals. But at the same time, can somebody comment what frequencies are used currently in your communication devices? Say when you have your mobile phone, it shows LTE or it shows 4G. What are the frequencies which are currently being used? Any guess? Because you use it all day. I mean, we are with our phone all day. So maybe Daksh.
Yes, sir, around 1000 megahertz.
1000 megahertz. Okay. Dhirendra, you wanted to say something?
600 to 850 megahertz.
Okay, very good. Any other guesses?
So
Okay.
900 megahertz.
900 megahertz. Very good. So what you all have said, your all answers are correct. And that's the kind of questions I want to, I like giving in an exam where you can say anything and answer should be correct, right? After all, that's what students want. They want to get good grades. But at the same time, I appreciate that you guys took in effort, which I have been talking about so far, to answer this question. The thing is that 4G or 3G or 2G, you know, all of them have been operating at different bands, have been operating at 900 megahertz. I think Daksh said about 460 to 900 megahertz. So that is called DVB-T band, digital video broadcasting band. So the macro big towers you see, right? Those were operating at frequencies like up around 900 meg, right? Why? Because bigger the channel, bigger macro stations usually connect big areas together. So if they are big areas together, you want lower frequency there because your attenuation will be less and your wave can travel further, right? So now that was one band. The second band was 1.8 gigahertz. So a lot of relatively smaller cell, which means like you have a macro cell, as I explained, and then you have, I will say, small cell, right? So your small cells were operating at 1.8 gigahertz. And then there is another band at 2.6 gigahertz. So depending on area, location, density, you choose what frequencies you want to put in. But so far until 4G, we were using frequency at 2.6 gigahertz. Now, what Manas, right? Manas. Yeah. What Manas mentioned is that we have opened up a band at 6 gigahertz. So what has actually happened is bunch of people came up with an idea that, you know, all these frequencies have got saturated and we already have so much. Can you imagine the amount of data we spend and the amount of waves will be at those frequencies? So they started that we should start working on 5G. And now 5G is divided into different things. One thing is small cell and a macro cell. For small cell, we are still, as shown here, right? It just connects this to two people inside, for example, in stadium, and it is connected to a bigger macro cell. So for small cell, we are using 3.5 gigahertz as of now for 5G and 2.6 gigahertz partially. For macro cell, we have a mix. We are again trying to do it at 3.5 gigahertz, but macro cells are becoming like massive MIMO. Massive MIMO means instead of having big one single transmitter, you are dividing it to small many transmitters. And depending on the traffic, it can do beamforming to focus on which area they want to beam the signal. And then there is a band at millimeter wave. Millimeter wave means 28 gigahertz, 40 gigahertz, 60 gigahertz. All smart cars, automotive radars, they all work at 60 gigahertz. So that is another band of 5G, but that band is not being used at basically at, I will say that 60 gigahertz band is not used for communication, because you know the frequency is so high, it will be blocked by even walls, right? And then there is about technology. So technology means that what frequency uses what. So small cell, macro cell, all these uses technologies like gallium nitride, which is becoming very, very important and critical in enabling these 5G circuits. So there is a circuit aspect, there is a device aspect. So microwave device is one thing, microwave circuit is one thing. So the microwave device you make on materials which were like silicon or which were GaN. So right now we have GaN, and there the high frequency millimeter wave is mostly or silicon. So this is basically 5G, and it is sub 6 gigahertz, and it is also millimeter wave. So how many of you have heard these kind of things that 5G will kill people? Corona, it was the reason behind COVID, and it's bad for health and all those things. Do you want to, have you ever heard about that, about 5G being a problem and it might create health issues and so on? Anyone want to comment on that?
Yes, sir. Some news channels, they definitely did that.
Yeah, your prime. I don't know. I forgot Prime Now, Prime Time, and they publish all this kind of a crap. But the reality is, what I'm telling you is very simple. You were working at 1.8 gigahertz. You were working at 2.6 gigahertz in 4G. As of now, as of current deployment, you have just moved those frequencies to 3.5 gigahertz for communication, for base station communication. That's the frequency. For millimeter wave, you are basically using high frequency, but that is for point-to-point communication. That's not even for what to say. That's not even for base station communication, right? It's not coming to your phone. Your phones are still using same frequency as you were using earlier. So just to be clear, if somebody say all these kind of things, you should know the answer, that what is right or what is not wrong, because being engineers and being students of electronics engineering, you should know all these things. So anyway, so I want to just show this evolution of because all microwave devices and circuits are basically changing based on time. See 2015 and prior to that, there used to be these kind of systems, one big tower, and it is radiating on all directions. Then one big tower, but it was connected to a bunch of small cells. And now finally we are moving to something called as massive MIMO. It's like one tower, but it has multiple antennas which radiate from the same tower in different directions. So for example, here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9, 9, 9, 9, 9 on 4 to 36. So this is like a 36 element beamformer, right? And then eventually what happened is there is a millimeter wave where 28, 38, 78, 90 to 95 gigahertz. These all have been opened up. So my recent research actually has been I designed chips at 100 gigahertz, which is, people are saying it will be 6G, but whatever you call 6G or 7G, but it was very challenging to do that work. So you understand, and this is something you will be seeing if you see around you. Just look around you, and you will see that the way these towers were getting deployed is changing drastically. And you see a smaller tower, and it will have bunch of kind of antennas coming. Heights will be lower, because they are connected to point to many small towers, or you called it that, then like you're making more density. So there can be also a time where you might be deploying you can have a backpack internet. You can have in your backpack, you put whatever that remote radio head is, and company pay you for that, right? Like companies will pay you. Like Vodafone might come and say, hey, you subscribe this, or do you want to do this, put this in your backpack? Yeah, for sure. And then we will pay you for that. There can be a time where wearable electronics is becoming so trendy that you can have phone in your skin. Like you can have tattoos which can transmit now radio signals, and eventually we will reach to a point where technology will be enabling communication right from our body. So these things are actually happening, and Elon Musk has started this new company, what's that? Anyone knows about the name of that? Which is basically reading the mind waves and communication through it's called neurons. I'm just forgetting the name. Sorry, can
Neuralink, sir.
Neuralink, sorry, yeah, Neuralink, that's the name. So Neuralink is actually based out of, again, Silicon Valley, and that's what they're trying to do. And that guy, whatever he wishes, he accomplishes, and I'm very, very positive that these things will happen. So imagine the amount of opportunities emerging in this space, and it's just incredible. So okay, so far I talked all fun stuff, and I guess we are already done 1 hour. So now I want to talk to about what I want to plan in this course. And I'm very open. If you guys think, let's not study this and we want to study this, we can also do that, but I want to be open enough to modify this coursework, but at least focus on fundamentals so that we can learn the building blocks of these things. So I want to start with, I'm kind of dividing it into subtopics. So we will start in like very basic representation of linear networks. What are transmission lines? What is the concept of impedance? What is impedance matching? Why impedance should be matched? How it should be matched? What are different types of transmission lines? Like पहले घर में वो you used to have those TVs, right? Where it used to have a coax cable, and we used to tighten it up. So we will study about those. We will study about just 1 second. My battery for AirPods is draining out. Just 1 second. Can you guys hear me? Can someone tell if I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So we will talk about that. We'll talk about what are S parameters, and how we measure S parameters, and why S parameters are important to understand for radio frequency design. Then we will go and talk about different passive and active devices. Passive are passive, like boring, sometimes lazy people. Active are active people, who wants to participate. Similarly, devices are like that. Passive are like like a directional coupler, power divider, magic T, which means they don't have any excitation. They don't excite anything in them. And active are, if you put some excitation, they have a phenomena associated to it, like transistors, amplifiers, oscillators, mixers. Then actually what I want to focus on, if I get really good support from you guys and you really want to learn, I want to go into design aspect more, like how you actually design these things. How can we use Smith chart? How can we use impedance matching? How can we realize the actual circuits? And then how to design something for gain, how to design something for noise, how to design for stability, and then do best math so that we can get best performance out of the device. Then from there, I will go to system level, because first you have to understand fundamentals. Then you have to design one component, which can be, say, an amplifier. Then you have to deploy that amplifier in a system. So we will study about what are different type of micro communication system, what are different antennas, what are the noise modeling, what is the budget link in a satellite, like, how you define what should be the gain of the antenna, how should you define what should be the noise figure of the receiver, and so on. And if time permits, we will go to some microwave measurements, like, I will also try to see if a couple of my buddies, they can show you like a lab with all these instruments, and we can show you like how different instruments look like, how they operate. I will have to sync up because, because of this COVID thing, I am not in lab these days. Otherwise, I would have just shown you from there. And then, so this is kind of will be our flow of the course. So it has many topics, and we will see how course progresses, and depending on that, we can decide what topics we want to add or remove, and so on. Okay, any questions about this? Any questions about course outline?
No, sir.
Yeah.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. So
Sir,
now the second,
sir, how can we do lab work? How can we do lab practicals in that? Because due to COVID, our labs is closed.
Yeah, so that's an important question I have been thinking about, because some of them are because I have been teaching this course in other universities like abroad, and people get really excited when they do lab work. And whatever my goal is, usually whatever you are doing in theory, you should see it in the simulator at least. So here is what I thought. So what I'm planning, that assessment will be evaluated based on whatever assignments I will give you, midterms and final exams, and everything will be open book. And I know how you guys are doing exams these days anyways, because my sister is also in third year. She's also studying electronics in Hansraj. And everything I want to keep open book, you use whatever you want. Thereafter, one thing I'm thinking is, because the class has an enrollment about 30 students, what I saw from Excel sheet. So I want to divide you into group of 3, and I want to you guys to read one white paper or research paper in any of these fields, whether it is RF, space, communication, 5G, blah blah blah. We can select bunch of topic, and I want that group to give me a presentation. It will be an online presentation like this, about whatever technologies they have learned. This is one aspect which we will do. The second aspect is, depending on how much interest you take, because I cannot do it myself, because see, I have a limitation. I am sitting so far from you guys, and unless I feel real motivation, I don't want to step into this, because it will take a lot of my time, and I also have a full-time job. So what I'm thinking is, what we can do, if you are really interested, towards end of the course, we can have like 3 or a 5-day full workshop using some advanced industry tools, right? Where we can basically, but that will need all of you guys to have access to laptop, because you will install that software, and that software will have a trial license which will expire in 15 days. These softwares are very expensive. So if we want to do that, I will have to basically call one of my old friends who work for like some company, like Keysight, for example. I don't know if you have heard of. They have a software called Advanced Design Systems, ADS, and we can basically have a hands-on 3, 4, 5-day workshop on ADS, so that you guys learn and implement some of the stuff you have read in this course. This will be a hard implementation, but it can only be possible if you guys have access to like laptops at your home. I can try to see how we can get licenses for the class for a short time, and then license expires. So this can be really knowledge. This can be something fruitful for you, because you can put it in your CV that you have designed something and learned something. This is one thing I was thinking. Also, second thing is, eventually if you feel this course to be exciting enough, and later on you want to continue on this, I can ask some of my buddies, and because after my project which I did in 2010 about radio waves. So Chaman wants to join now, I guess. Shall I admit or deny?
I admit him.
Okay. I think he just is he in? Because I think he didn't stay. I don't know. Okay. So the second thing is, if you're really interested, I can ask some of my friends here to send you guys Radio Jove, which is Jove means Jupyter. So basically, it's like a kit where you will have receiver components for the receiver. You can assemble a PCB and solder it and put together an antenna and receiver and try to do some activities in your campus once you are back. Third thing, I will encourage you to read about ham radio and get a ham radio license. And if you want, one day we can have a brief chat with some of the ham radio operators in Delhi. Actually, they are based off of RK Puram, and they have full lab there actually, and it's very impressive. So for lab work, this is what I'm thinking right now, because I definitely want you guys to learn. But if you say, we might not have, all of you are not have access to laptops or computers, then it becomes a problem. Because if I try, because this arranging licenses for 30 people, how much money you're talking about? Each license is around, I don't know, maybe say, it might be licenses worth rupees 3 to 4 lakhs or maybe more, but I can get them for free through some of my friends and connections. We can figure something out. I can do a joint workshop, because they keep chasing me to do this workshop for these companies, but I don't entertain them. But if you guys are interested, we can push in that direction. And for this, I have mentioned input required. So you guys tell me what you guys think.
Yes, sir, it should be good, sir.
But does everyone have access to computers at home?
Sir, I guess the majority does. It might be a problem for 1 or 2 students. I mean, I don't know their names. I've heard that some people don't have laptop, maybe 1 or 2.
Okay, because if in case they don't have, if they can, combine, or they can meet their friends, I don't know. That's you guys have to figure it, because I cannot arrange computer, I guess, until you guys go to lab. Are you guys going to campus at all, or no?
So it's unofficially open. I mean, we can go, but doing everything officially, like
yeah, then and it won't be even possible, and we might need a lot of permissions and stuff, right? So let me think about it. I will try to float this idea to a couple of companies, and I will say, we want to host it in JNU. We can make it like an event, so that they are ready to sponsor it. But I guess, given my relationship with them, they should be fine, But again, I will have to see who is the contact point in Gurgaon and talk to him. But it will be really worth for you guys. It will be a lot of fun. So I will circle back on those subjects with you. And if you are interested in these things, we can later decide. If you really feel passionate about after this course about the field, then we can go ahead in that direction. So, okay, I guess apart from this, this was pretty much my last slide. So I will keep you posted about what we want to do with the lab. But even the assignments will be very, very applied, in the sense, I don't expect you, man, the time has gone, to give you some kind of a derivation which you keep looking in a book and you keep doing. We need to focus more on applied aspect. So my questions and assignment will be 100% application based, where one question can also have multiple answers. It will be more about how you approach those questions. So even if you decide to pair up or group up, you might not be able to you might not even get same answers. And I can make your life very tough if you don't cooperate in terms of, regularity of assignment submissions and with the honesty, effort you put in that, because I can really put very tough questions. But point is not that. Point is that whatever you learn in the class, are you able to apply it or not? So the questions focus will be on application rather than asking you to, hey, derive me this, and it is already given in a book and you can just refer to it and do derivation. I will never ever give you any question based on derivations. So you have to be attentive in the class. If you are not understanding anything, I'm telling you, you can ask me 100 times. you can ping me, send me email, and I will be happy to answer that. But if you don't put in effort, I mean, I can't help that. And regarding midterm exam, again, exams will be very similar style, mostly application based, and will be close to assignment. Whatever assignments I give you, your exams, and I won't have many assignments, but whatever I give you will take some time, and also your midterm will be similar to your. If you do assignments well, you should be fine in midterm and final exam. Regarding what book to follow, I will let you know. Mostly, you can rely on my slides, but I will also give you 2-3 book options. Manali. Yeah, I can give you my email address. I think email is a better way to communicate. And you can send me email there. That's my email. It's the same email address by which I send you guys email yesterday. Did everyone get my email?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you guys got it. Okay. So okay, so we will figure it out, and then that's pretty much it. And I think I want to just end with this quote, which I actually came up some time ago, because I was so tired of competition, man, because, you know, being in top schools and top places is very demanding. And then I started seeing all this from a different perspective. Just, you know, I'm not trying to be a philosophy professor here, but I started realizing that, you know, you have to start looking into the contribution aspect of whether it's your education or whether it's your engineering course or whatever you study. And then, you know, you enjoy everything and life just becomes very exciting. And why I'm teaching you today, you know, sitting at 9 p.m. my time, it's not because, you know, I get paid from your university a lot or whatever it is, but it's just because I enjoy it. So that's why I'm doing it. So you guys, I expect if you can be similar way, and that will make this course more fun. And regarding today's slides, I'm thinking I won't share the entire thing because this is very personal to me, and I just wanted to share it with you guys so that you can get my background. And eventually, I would love to learn more about you guys. And down the path, from next class, I guess, which is on Friday, I will start introducing more technical content. So I guess that's pretty much from my end. Anyone has any questions? No questions or any comments, or do you have any suggestions? Like in other classes, if there is some best practice from other class which I can adopt, please let me know. How is it usually? How are other classes? Like can you share like what's happening with other class in the sense from the teaching style and as well as from the material? Because it will help me.
This is our first class this semester.
Oh, but you are in third semester, right?
Oh yes, in that sense, some teachers, they teach in a very good style and some they don't. I mean, you know, it's very variable.
I see. So but most of them are using slide decks, or are they also using any like?
So they're using a software called they're using a Wacom tablet through which they can write and, you know, teach us the theoretical concept. Like it's a digital whiteboard of some sort.
Okay. Can you tell me the name of it? I will try to see if I can find it on Amazon or something here. And
Wacom, WACOM, Wacom tablet.
Wacom tablet. Okay. WAC. Okay. Yeah, I will try to see it because I was thinking, you know, in some of the stuff like Smith chart matching and all, if nothing works, I'm planning to just get a whiteboard and try to use whiteboard if that helps. But the tablet might be useful. I mean, I can do it on my, I have a Surface Pro and I can actually draw on that too. I can share a screen and use that, but I guess tablet might be better. Okay, sounds good to me. So I guess after this, you guys have some, we had time until what time? This class runs until what time?
40 more minutes, I guess.
40 more minutes. So I guess you guys are done for today because it was an introductory class, and I don't want to start further because today they have given a lab slot, but for the lab, we will have to figure out, especially with this all COVID thing, how we have to do it. But what I'm thinking is it might be better if we can have a kind of a full week or a 5-day workshop rather than having single week. So what I will do from next Wednesday, we will take a full class or a lecture for 1 hour, because I guess if it is 2 hours, right, it becomes people just lose interest. So I want to make sure whatever time we teach, you guys are able to follow it and you don't want to stretch it further. Okay, sounds good to me. Any questions you have, please send me an email.
So could I ask now?
Yes. Yeah.
Sir, whatever you are teaching theory parts and all the topics, whatever. So you can relate more and more in real and practical like that. So it's very interesting.
Definitely. So that's my task, and it's also a challenge for me because usually I have taught this course with a lot of resources in the sense, in my lab, we also have instruments and I try to show the undergrad students everything. But I will try to do my best to help you guys understand these things. Of course, I cannot bring like, lab equipment at my home, but I will try to see how I can possibly ask someone to dial in and show us exactly what we are seeing in theory. I will try to do my justice, but let's see how it goes.
So yeah, so is less theory is required, but it's implement on practical. So then
I get your point. Yeah, it's important to understand theory, but at the same time, it's also important to relate it with the practical things.
it's a real life problems.
Correct. Chalo,
Yes,
dekhenge how far we go in that. Any other question, comment? If not, then I think we are good. You guys are good to leave, and maybe that's it from my end for today. Thanks for joining. And
Thank you, sir.
bye, guys.
Thank you, sir.